Welcome to the Assisted Living Network podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to our incredible guest, Gina Sullivan, owner of the Sullivan House in Atlanta, Georgia. Gina really dives deep into some of the pros and cons of owning a 24-bed care home. You know, I'm always talking about that 6 to 16 mark. Well, she went a little bit bigger, and there's some wonderful things that come with it, but there's also some tough parts. She's really going to dive in on that so that you can understand what it looks like to be in the mid-level assisted living market. Enjoy the conversation. In the United States right now, there are 76 million baby boomers. The number one dilemma for these baby boomers? Housing. That dilemma can be your opportunity. Welcome to the Assisted Living Network podcast, where you can discover how just one residential assisted living home could secure your financial future forever. Welcome to the show, Gina. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Isabel. I'm excited to be with you.
Well, tell me everything about your journey. You know, we met you at the training, but then you got started, went home, and you found a spectacular home that you're now using as your RAL. So how did you find this home?
It was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So... You know, we went home and did the demographic work like Mark teaches you. I don't know if he teaches on that specific little thing on every RAL meeting, but, you know, Mark usually does the demographic and know your community. So I went back and I knew where I wanted. I know Atlanta really, really well. So I really didn't have to do demographic work, but I did it anyway. And we are a mile down the road from the location that I wanted it. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it came full circle because I wanted it there. I knew that's where I wanted, but I wasn't willing to go through municipality issues. I wasn't paying for a lawyer. I didn't have time for that, nor did I have the money for it.
Yep.
So we started out looking at residential properties and the greater Atlanta area. It's just really hard to get what you need in a residential property.
Okay.
So it would be 2 steps forward. We would find something and go, this will work. It didn't. Then you jump back. But we learned something each time. So I believe it was meant to be. God took us through that for a reason.
Yep. And this particular home you found, was it already an existing RAL or you turned it into one?
It's been some sort of senior home since 1991. It was empty for the 4 years previous to our purchase.
Okay. So it was an existing, but not full, you're not inheriting staff or anything of that nature.
It had been empty 4 years.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So what did you do before you jumped into RAL?
I'm a retired teacher and my husband is a contractor and we're mothers and fathers of 3. So
amazing. And what was your big why? Why did you even want to get into this industry and take that shift?
You know, everybody always has these grandiose answers to that question. And mine is just, it almost seems selfish. But, you know, it was to get my husband off a ladder. He works hard every day. He's 40 years as a contractor and never advertised once. And he's full schedule all the time.
Wow. And
I just wanted him to get off a ladder. And the only way to get him off a ladder is to think of a different business plan and, you know, go a different direction. So that's what we're working on. He's still on the ladder right now.
Well, you
on that piece of it.
Yes, you will get there. I know there has been so many challenges opening your RAL. And I think sometimes people, when we talk to them in the beginning, they think, oh, this is simple. You get a house, you fill it up with seniors, you do. It's like, There's so many challenges along the way. And we try to prepare you for that in the training, but you can never be prepared for what's really out there. So Tell us, what was some of the most challenging parts of opening your first care home?
You know, on the front side of it, before owning it, it's obviously getting financed. I'm not in the field. I'm a retired teacher. So they wanted somebody with experience. And they wanted somebody with, background in the field. And I didn't have either of those. Even though the funny thing is, everything I do right now, every single day, is the same exact thing I did in kindergarten every single day as a teacher. Every single day. I mean, the exact same thing. So
your guys' arts and crafts are probably off the chart in your home.
beside the point. But anyway, post post opening, like post ownership, closing day, it's staffing.
Yep.
That's the big challenge.
Yep. Always. And it's a continuous challenge, as long as you're in the industry. Systems are really the best way, and then setting that culture and stuff like that. But it's always going to be a problem. It's the number one most in-demand job in our country. It's not going to stop being that number one spot for the next 30 years. So it is a challenge. Are there a lot of other small care homes in your market, or are you kind of, with 24 beds, you're kind of mid-size, but what's the demographics like there in regards to the amount of homes?
In Georgia, there's something called assisted living and personal care. And for the most part, they're the same thing. Nobody really knows the difference unless you own one.
Yeah.
There are some personal care homes. We are a personal care home. But all of the personal care homes tend to be 3, 4, 5, at the very most 6.
Wow.
And I'm not even sure. I think 4 is the limit in the greater Atlanta area, because they are in like small, like subdivisions, kind of like what RAL teaches. But they won't let you go above 4 in most municipalities. Once in a while, you'll find one that will let you go to 6. So we're not really competing with those because they're mom and pop operations. There's a place for them, but they're not usually luxurious. A lot of times the staff is sleeping at night, those kinds of things. People usually equate us to an assisted living, even though we're not really that under the Department of Community Health guidelines. We have competitions down the street and friends down the street that are like, most of them are 100 or so. Some of them are 200. Something like that. So I visited one this morning. We look really different, even though there's similarities as well.
Interesting. So when daughter Judy's coming to do those tours, she may be visiting one of those much smaller homes, 4 beds or less, and she may be visiting that 100, 200 bed, and you guys kind of are that in the middle sweet spot. How did you get licensed for 24 if everyone else is limited at 4?
Because I'm commercial.
Okay, so it's the zoning trick.
The zoning trick. That's the reason we were like, but right before we found this one, we had decided we've got to find a piece of commercial property. That's the only way in the greater Atlanta area we're going to be able to make this work. Could we have gone through attorneys and all that? Yes, but we weren't willing to do that.
Yeah. Yes, sometimes it is as simple as just finding, okay, it's a different zoning area and now I can make it happen. We literally talked about that yesterday on Instagram. I was live and people were saying, well, what do I do if I'm limited to 5? I said, find out what zoning isn't limited to 5, So you're proof in the pudding right there.
Yeah, it's commercial. And I mean, everybody kept saying what is it? The special land use and all that.
Okay, yeah. Special permits.
The banks don't like that. So.
Oh. So going to commercial was beneficial for the banks as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. So how did you guys fund your business? Was it through a traditional bank loan, an SBA loan?
It's through SBA. We did the 504 and what is the other one called?
7A?
Yeah, 7A.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, awesome. Have you guys used your own capital to get started in this?
No, we worked with a partner who helped us find investors. And that's kind of his piece of it. We've got 2 partners. One is our experienced partner. And then the other one is our partner that manages more the finances and the dealings with our investors. And I would say I know about half of the investors. The other half I do not know.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That is really cool, actually.
Yeah.
It's become that hands-off in that regard that someone else is doing all that dealing.
Right.
Incredible. What pushed you through those difficult times in regards to finding staff, retaining staff? What has kind of kept you going on this mission?
I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm not going on this mission. It depends on what day you're talking to me. I would say my husband, he is very supportive, and I'll come home at 8 or 9 o'clock sometimes, and he'll be going, you're doing a good job. It's getting there. Keep going. Keep going, and probably my business partners.
Yeah. It's the support system.
Yeah.
It's so important to have that around you because, like we said, those roadblocks will come, those speed bumps will come, and there's going to be days where you say, I don't want to push forward. Maybe today's one of those days for you, but it has to be that you have those people to fall back on and those conversations to be had. So I think that that's beautiful that you are surrounded by that amazing, crew right there around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you came to the training, what was the most impactful, piece of information that you learned there that you really maybe even still utilize to this day?
Yeah, something Josh said, do something every day.
Yeah.
You were very motivating. I could see the passion you were carrying from your dad, and I remember coming up to you and saying, "You are your dad's legacy." I could see that spark in your eye that you were carrying your dad's torch.
Thank you.
I sat in on the final day. I think Rala was there, but I think it was a God thing too. I opened up my Bible study, and I get teary-eyed when I say this, but we didn't know how we were going to do this, how were we going to make it happen? And the Bible study that day was Proverbs 3:5, trust the Lord with your whole heart, don't rely on your own understanding. Yeah. And that was what told me, yep, Josh, you, and the funny thing is, Mark is who I trained, did a lot of calls with, but we didn't talk a lot at the RALA training. So really, I stand on that Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with your whole heart and don't rely on your own understanding, because I had no clue how we were going to do that.
Yeah. It is one of those things that you have to have that why bigger than yourself. And I know yours is bigger than yourself. It's your husband, and it's the longevity of your guys' life and your relationship, and him as a father, to your kids. You want him to be there and be present and things like that, giving you that leap of faith to just push forward and make it happen. I think that assisted living is so directly tied to faith-believing people because, God does call us to care for, the children and the seniors in our communities and in our lives. And unfortunately, in our country today, the seniors are thrown away by society. They really are. And it's so sad. And so you are doing God's work by doing this. And I hope that that's encouraging for you, even on those rough days, that you're being a light to the families that come through. You're relieving them of guilt and frustration and resentment and maybe anger, and you're giving them hope and joy and giving them their mom or dad back once again. And no one can take that feeling from you. And it's not even just a feeling. No one can take that reality that you are truly giving them that.
Yeah. We like that. We giggle and laugh. It's always fun to see what's going to happen next. You just never know.
Yeah.
You never know from one day to the next what's going to come out of their mind, out of their mouth, and speak out of their mind.
Yes. On that, what's been one of your favorite parts of getting into this business?
I think my favorite part, I was passionate about teaching for so long, and it's just, I remember even some of your staff arguing with me that it was nothing like teaching. I don't know. That's not what I see. And I think that's what the joy I get from it is. Yeah, I've been retired since 2013, but, I still snicker and laugh and giggle and enjoy the things they bring to the table. It's that innocence, that unbarred, guard completely let down. They're just there. They're joyful, they're happy, let's talk, let's chat. And, sometimes they make sense and sometimes they don't. And that's what we did in kindergarten.
I love it. What is your best piece of advice for somebody getting into this industry?
Over budget.
Yep.
plan for the unexpected. You know, the obvious things are the things that are listed in the financial suite, your utilities, your taxes, you know, all those things, but there are things you don't think about. I know there are things that, you know, office supplies that I didn't budget adequately for. We're in the heart of Atlanta Country Club, and you can't put a 6-foot Christmas tree in our building and it be appropriate for what Atlanta Country Club expects, you know? And so decorating for Christmas was a huge chunk of a budget. If you're going to, you can't fake that. You either do it right or you may as well not do it. And so we're also a 24-bed home, and the premise, you know, behind the Rala is more of a smaller, I would say 16 or less is what most of them are. Between 8 and 16 is that kind of accurate? And so hopping to that 24 line was not necessarily like, oh, we're looking for a 24-bed home. That's just what found us. And when it found us, you make it right, you roll with it, but there's some items that have to be considered when it's kind of above that. We found 12 to 16 as a mark that, like, okay, everything runs smooth, but then it's around 12 to 16, it starts to change. And so what works for a 12 to 16 bed, somewhere in there, you've got to rearrange sometimes staffing, how you handle kitchen activities. It just runs a little bit different. We want to keep it on the smaller side and more intimate, but yet we are 24 beds and people are coming in and out of our home all day long. So the safety of the residents, you know, those kinds of things. It's just a tad bit of a different model, a little more few things to consider.
Great advice. We say that on the show a lot. You have to make sure that you have enough capital to not get you through, to get you through above and beyond. Overcapitalization is everything because you don't know what's going to come up. It's going to hit you when you least expect it. And that could be the kiss of death for, you know, a business owner. So it is just vital to have that overcapitalization, that padding. So I love that. Great advice.
Thanksgiving lunch, you know, that was a big, and it wasn't on Thanksgiving Day. We invited all the families, but that was a big something. We didn't allot money for that. We didn't allot money for those types of things. We also allotted monies based on what, you know, a 12 to 16 bed home, something along those lines, would expect for activities. And we have found that activities far exceed by landslide that. So those activities feel different and look different in a bigger home.
Correct. Yes.
I should have planned more for that. I planned it more on a 12 to 16 bed, you know, smaller home model. Yep. And I needed a lot more money per month.
Okay, so this is great advice because it's basically, hey, if you are going to go smaller, you know, you can follow these steps and it will work. But if you're going to go that mid-size, you know, I'm going to call it that 16 to 50 is probably your mid-size. It's like, that's when the game changes, you know.
Changes a little bit.
It changes. So being aware of that, planning for that budgetary wise and staffing wise, and just understanding how it changes. For you in the day-to-day and things of that nature. So where do our listeners find out more about your home?
You can go to our website, sullivanhouseseniorliving.com, or we have, that's, you know, very professionally done. You know, you find all the right things, all the right answers, but the emotional piece of Sullivan House can be found on Facebook. So look us up on Facebook, Sullivan House Marietta.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your heart and your insights. And hopefully you were an inspiration to our listeners here today. I know I love catching up with you and just hearing what's going on and how everything's going at Sullivan House. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm always obliged.